Alice with a C something.
Economic Development Committee meeting will come to order. All 5 members are present. On the bottom. Button there. There you go. It'll stay on.
Might not be plugged in.
Yeah, it'll plug. It'll work.
It doesn't have to be plugged in. It just
Maybe the battery
uses the force.
There are 2 items on the agenda this evening. I'll take the second item first. It's a resolution to request variance review for U-Haul at 800 South and 924 South, 108th Street.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Alderman Haas.
Right, we certainly had a discussion, I think a very good and fruitful discussion among our council members earlier today in our Economic Development Committee meeting beforehand. And yeah, I think what's before our council is are really 2 choices: a big empty building for potentially decades, or a nice looking building that involves activity, will look good, doesn't require any public participation, doesn't require tax money, doesn't require TIF money. It'll be a nice addition to the Highway 100 corridor. It'll look certainly a lot better. When we talk about comparing what it's going to be, we have to compare what it is now versus what not some idea of what it of a apartments or some other type of development. Our choices are big empty building, or at least a nice looking building that provides a service to people of the community. I think that's what this comes down to.
Mayor, you want to make a comment earlier?
I did. Thanks, Mr. Chair. I guess I was listening on my way in, and I also wanted to piggyback off of what Alderwoman Grisham had said, similar to what Alderman Weigel had said, regarding what the reference you had said. We had parcels by the farmers market were ripe for developments, but what I also wanted to remind the council and just ask that you consider is 7, 8, 9 years ago, before some of you were here, we had a parcel on 67th and Burnham, McGeo, where the CDA entertained countless cold storage proposals that we kept deciding, should we take this, should we wait for something better, should we, in some eyes, should we settle, or should we, just take what's easy? And we waited, and we ended up with Glen Reeder, which is a corporate headquarters of an architectural millwork company. So I think our community.
Yeah, the battery, I think.
Oh, that's a sign for us, Vince.
I know. Not for you yet.
I think what, as a community, looking back 15, 20 years, as far as development opportunities, we were in kind of a begging mode. And I think in today's world, we can be kind of a choosing mode, and we can kind of pick what we want. I know it's been slow. I know it's been not the prettiest property in that corridor, but I just am asking the council to consider that. As you mentioned it, Alderman Haas, and I respect that opinion completely. But sometimes if you wait, something that you'll all feel 100% comfortable with and excited about might come into play. And if a majority of you are on board with this, it's great. Let's move. But, I just ask that you consider what might be. I have not gotten to tour the site. I know a few people had said they visited it. So if this does move forward tonight, I would like to visit the site. That's all I have to say. Thank you. It was longer than my 30 seconds initially planned.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. Before I've been alderwoman, it was many years ago, as a business owner in 2nd District and very close to 1st District, I became involved in the strategic plan of the city many, many years ago. And I appreciate that you mentioned the farmers market area, because that's what struck a chord for me. There were many opportunities, I believe, that Mayor Devine had, developments looking at it and otherwise, but there was a vision for that area. And all it took for that vision, and I shouldn't be that dismissive, all it took was that one big start to the development. And now we are in a much better position with our city. This is what we've been asking to have happen. And District 3, which is now District 5 in that area, Alderwoman Keene and I work diligently to try to bring something to that community. There are residents that say, hey, we want to see more than just the dilapidated Burger King. You know, we know that Colders is looking. That's a space. We knew before COVID that Top Golf was potentially looking at that site. These are the things that we need to look for to make it a destination. And no disrespect to Alderman Turner when he said people move into the community, but wasn't that why we put the moratorium out there to begin with? And what does that say to our residents who have been asking for that to become more of a destination? Improves their value to their homes, brings money into the district in a very different way. So I can't reiterate enough that I think this, if you vote yes, we're settling. And I'm sorry for the situation that U-Haul might be in as of now, but we did put that moratorium in place for a reason. So that's all I have.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Haas.
Or if Alderman Weigel wanted to go.
Okay.
I think many of you have heard me say these kinds of things before about what makes a community interesting to either live, work, or play in, or move to, or start a business in. And honestly, I don't think anybody would move to West Allis because we have good self-storage. It's not high on the list of services that people want from a community. I mean, quality of schools is up there, obviously public safety, and then you get down to interesting places to live, interesting places to shop, interesting places to dine, interesting places to be that third place, a place to hang out. Nowhere on that list, I think, is self-storage. And if this was, say, 115th and Lincoln, well, there's one, I think there's one over there already, right? If this was a little off the beaten path, then maybe I could see supporting it. But this is it's essentially on the corner of a state highway and a federal interstate. I mean, and if you look at the other developments that have been floated in that neighborhood, in Wauwatosa, kind of kitty corner from there was a developer that was talking about, I don't know how realistic it was, a 33-story apartment mixed-use building at one time, and not that long ago on Highway 100 in Blue Mound, which is kind of a mirror image of this area. And if those are the kinds of things that we're seeing on that west suburban, I mean, then I think, again, we can't settle. I think we have to continue reaching here. So I don't think I'm going to be in favor of this variance. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Ranky?
I have to say that I myself, as well as Kevin, have spoken to these people at U-Haul. U-Haul basically has been a good, reliable partner in West Allis. They serve the people very well all over West Allis. We're looking at diverse businesses. We've waited and waited for approximately 3 years for this building to be not vacant anymore. I think it's been 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hobo has been empty, I think, for approximately 3 years. I hope I'm speaking accurately on that. If not,
Yeah,
I
3 years, I
apologize.
believe, and a little more.
Just under 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Our hopes were high that we would get prime, excellent development happening there. But how long are we going to wait? As the mayor has alluded to, we're waiting and waiting. And this isn't the time, I guess, that development would take place. So we have to wait many, many more years, I'm certain, before a business that would attract everyone to say that we would support a business that everyone thinks should come to West Allis. They plan on cleaning up the site. They plan on enhancing that location, and I think we should give them a chance. I think we should give them a chance at this time.
Anyone else have any comments or questions
Mr. Chair?
on the item?
If I could just say a couple things. We hear this things about, oh, the site's going to get cleaned up. Well, we have rules about keeping your sites clean. We have site and landscaping rules, and even if a building is empty, we require it to be well kept and have a good appearance on the outside. Okay, and Alderperson Reinke brought up the kind of lack of development we've been having lately. Well, some things have been stuttering. But I'm going to chalk a lot of it up to COVID and all the uncertainty that it's thrown into the world for the last 3 years. I really hope, Alderperson Haas's cough notwithstanding, that we're through COVID and that we're going to get back under our feet again and things are going to get rolling in a positive direction. I see our economic development director here. I don't know if he was planning on saying any words on this or. Yeah, but like I said, well, the last thing I'm going to say, pending what Mr. Schloss has to say, this is if this happens, I'm going to presume that use is going to be there for the next generation at least. Okay, this isn't they're going to go and spend to add that additional $7 million into it and hire 10 more people because that's what it is. They currently have 10. They're talking about hiring 10 more. And they're not going to say in 5 years, because the thing's going to cash flow for them. It will make money for their investors or the owners, and that's good. I'm a capitalist. I think most of us are. But I think there's a higher and better use for that property. I really do.
Mr. Slosh?
Members of the Economic Development Committee, we have to go back here a few years. Actually, Hobo closed, and then it was marketed for sale. And we did, as an economic development staff, promote the site to various users. And there were, I remember, a battery business exploring it for manufacturing purposes. And then we did the Highway 100 corridor study, and the rezoning was discussed. And we thought that was a great way to reposition the property along our gateway into our community. And we went with the commercial use versus manufacturing, which prohibited then storage, mini storage, etc. We get inquiries daily about mini storage throughout the community, but does it do anything for our community? It adds tax base, but very little employment, little bit of economic impact. There's not people going to eat. There's not people going to different other businesses in the area. So if you explore, the question is, when's development coming? Well, it could come in time. There's an evolution that will take place. We can kind of see it to the north of this site. If you recently heard Wauwatosa bought the Boston store and are building 900 new housing units. And then Ergens is planning some, I believe, housing on the entrance to the research park, new housing going in. And that's kind of, working its way south towards us. I think there would be an evolution in time, but if you think of the areas that we did have evolution, the 6 Points, 84th and Greenfield, those are properties the city purchased. And we made a commitment for that change. In order to make a systematic change in the Highway 100 corridor, we've had opportunities, and we explored purchasing properties, and we, in some cases, decided not to pursue them because of the prices. Highway 100, we've always said, it'll fend for itself because of the rents and the higher national tenants, credit worthiness that come to that corridor. But if you wanted to make a systematic change, it's going to take a commitment. Utilizing tools that we have, TIF or other programs to make a change, or acquisition of numerous properties and then go after that development, or work with the private sector to get that development. And we are working on that. We have communications going on, ongoing. This area was looked at. I think I have a copy of a 2020 a letter to a broker that had national home goods stores looking at this area for retail. Now, I can't go into who they were. There was three or four of them. They wanted to do 3 national stores, but the problem is that railroad track to the east. It's not deep. That it's really narrow in terms of a development site. So that's the frontage is great, but the depth of the sites, they're not very deep with the railroad track. 6 acres of land, that can make a system. A sizable change. If you think of the 3 acres where 3 Leaf would build, or the recent one proposed by Land by Label, those are 3 acres. That's 246 units, almost $67 million in development. So does it take public assistance? In some cases, yes. But, evolutions occur and it takes time. So I don't know if you'd have any other questions, but we are trying to change that Highway 100 corridor.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Vitale.
the fact it is that, like I say, always been kind of in the past in favor of the idea of building apartment, we call it growth, that's fine. But the bottom line still, the way I see for a community to grow, it takes a small business to come into West Dallas, and maybe the small business could grow larger. I'm not talking just about you all. It could be other companies. If they could come in, we can just focus and say we're going to put apartments here. There's a lot of apartments, brand new ones. They're vacant. They're vacant right now. I mean, I can attest to that. That this apartment, they're not all rented. They're not all rented.
No, they're all full.
Well, I mean, but there's a lot of vacancies too.
They're 99% full, Vince.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, to me, I think for future of the community, I think investment to have some small manufacturing, some small shop, whatever it is. To me, that's they pay taxes. They have to maintain their buildings. A lot of the old shops, which was, antiquated. They were old. They were abandoned for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We couldn't take care of the inside, even the outside, for years. One Showman building where Pick and Save is, that was down for many years. It looked like a Torah Second World War buildings, really. So I'm glad that at that time we came to a proposal and developments with Pick and Save, on and on. It had a strip mall there. And to me, that's what I call a development. But let's not just because I'm going to wait the 4 or 5 more years to put an apartment there. To me, that's a wrong direction. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I was just going to say, I think everyone knows where they stand on it. I think it's probably just time to vote. If I may just say one more thing, and this is actually going to come to Alderman Vitale. Your district that has been so well developed and has brought an influx of tax base and otherwise, what if we would have put a U-Haul there?
Well, if you fit
Do you think and I'm just asking, I'm not trying to be confrontational, if there was a U-Haul there or storage facilities, do you think that would have grown your district to the degree it has, or would you have preferred to see that commercial district now boom?
Okay.
And I don't really, that's just more rhetorical. I want you to think about that when it comes to your vote.
We
I don't wanna-
have Burnham Street on 55th, the old Murphy Diesel, a big square, I say it got to be at least 4, 5, 6 acres. That's a storage place today. It's a storage place. How much revenue we get from that? I think it's very minimum. Okay? So that's where I'm talking about. If you get a live company that's interested to invest money, you're going to have 20-some jobs or 25, who knows how many, and develop that site, that building. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. To me, that's how we support business. Apartments, fine. We have, the way my estimation is, room is getting tight in West Dallas for business to come into West Dallas if you're doing all apartments. That's my biggest gripe, really.
Mr. Chair, I move, sorry.
I just want to clarify, economic development is not just apartments. It could be other uses that
I
pair
know,
with that.
Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm totally aware of that,
But I do want to point, if this does go forward, and I mean, as a community, our planning team works really hard to make sure things look good. And this is our gateway. And I look at a recent U-Haul facility that was put in on 164 in Greenfield Avenue, former Pick and Save. It's a parking lot of U-Haul vehicles, and they have them up against the street, so it looks like a billboard. And if that potentially could happen. I mean, we'd have to work through the planning process so that doesn't happen, but, I mean, that's something that I just hope that we can consider, because I don't have pictures with me, but everybody, when I say that's a U-Haul, oh yeah, that looks horrible. Well, if we know that, then we need to work on that.
Mr. Chair, the last one. We do have right now within our city ordinance that if you have a business, you can put so much material or vehicles outside. I mean, I believe we have that. So for this particular issue or concern that we have, to me, it could be addressed. I'm sure they're not going to put tons of U-Haul machines or trucks or trailers or whatever it is outside. I think that building, the way it looks, is pretty good size, so they can put a lot of equipments on the inside. So something could be probably attached to that, that we don't want to see loaded with U-Haul cars or trailers, whatever they call it, I mean, out in the surrounding of that building. To me, that's could be applied to that just as well.
Alderman Vitale, I agree with you. Any issues with vehicles parked outside can all be handled by planning and zoning department.
Yes.
That's not an issue at all. We can make sure that the property would be screened properly, the building would look nice. So I don't think those are issues. We have
That's
enough
right.
ordinances in place to take care of that. My concern is, do I want a storage facility in that area again? I mean, we've got storage facilities behind it that, quite frankly, look terrible. I hate those little storage buildings back there. You indicated that you might be putting in a couple more behind a hobo. I don't like that look. I just don't. There's some indoor storage facilities not far from where I live. There's one on 68th and Morgan. There's one on 75th and Oklahoma, 77th and Oklahoma. That look pretty nice. They're decent. They took old shopping centers, old buildings, and convert them into indoor storage, climate controlled. They look decent. They look like an office building, even though they're self-storage units. So I'm not concerned that we can't make them look good. Is it the best use for that property?
That's what we'll have to vote on.
Yep, that's what we got to look at. Do I think it's, if we own the property, I'll be honest with you, I think I'm going to support this. If we owned the property, if the city owned it, I would not be looking to develop it in this way. But we don't own it, and our chances of owning it are probably pretty slim. So I'd rather take what we can get that's going to look halfway decent, and if it doesn't, we got to hope that the Planning Commission is going to turn it down.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of item 17, approving the resolution to request the variance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Ayes have it. 3-2. Next item on the agenda is a new application for public entertainment premise license for Oak Brewery at 6751 West National. Agent John Anopa.
Motion to hold?
No, we can,
Okay, vote on.
just the entertainment license. This isn't a variance. That's before the other committee.
Got it. Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And there's no administration committee meeting.
Well, he take care of things away ahead of time.
That's right.